Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to deck build in the Versus System game. First, we're going to kind of go over what card types there are in the Versus System, and then we're going to go into kind of going into the character part of the deck building, where we're going to try to build a curve deck. There are two types. There's a curve and a swarm. A curve kind of goes on par with the turn. Like turn 1, you play a 1-drop. Turn 2, you play a 2-drop. Turn 3, play a 3-drop, so on and so forth. Swarm is you kind of just flood the board. You use your resource points to play as many characters as possible, and then you just kind of just kill your opponent that way. Curve is a little bit of a slower tempo type build, and Swarm is usually considered aggro. So we're going to just go into the character. We're going to go check the card types again. I almost missed that. We're going to check the card types, and then we're going to go into what we should do for characters in a curve build. Forgive me for the overhead camera. It's out of focus. I don't know how to get it in focus. It's not my camera. I'm going to be using my other camera for future videos. So don't hold it against me. So we're going to first show the red cards, which are characters. They have a cost, and then they have an attack and a defense. They have a text box with a power. We're not going to worry about that. We're not going to worry about this bottom part of the card for this video's purposes. Just we're trying to just get the ratios down on the costs. So red cards, always characters. And then next we have support cards, which are the blue cards, which are called plot twists. They also have a cost. They have a threshold cost. We'll get into that when we get into another video about threshold costs, which would probably be the next video or so. There is some text in there. It's super blurry. This camera is so bad. But I appreciate Trent for loaning me the camera. But if I use this camera, you could see it. Look at that. It's so much better. So yeah, the blue cards are like your support cards, your character tutors, your defensive, your offensive pumps, your combat tricks, stuff like that to throw your opponent off and to turn the tide in the battle. Next, we have locations, which are green. That's kind of denotes like a special place in that comic book's universe. This is Darkseid's Ancient Throne, so the deck is based off of Darkseid from DC. So it has a threshold cost, and it has a text box with some powers. Again, we're not going to worry about the blue or the green cards today, but then in future videos we will. So that's the third card type, and the fourth card type, which is equipment cards. They are like a silverish gray. And then they also have a threshold recruit cost, because you recruit them like characters. So they have like special abilities that can augment your characters, give your characters more attack, more defense, make them untargetable, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, they're not used very often. They're usually used in, it's a focal point of a deck. Ego Gem here, I may end up taking this out. It just depends if I can find foil copies of the other cards I want to slide in for it, because I love foil cards. So we're going to go into characters first. So your character curve, with the curve deck, because that's what we're going to go off of. Normally you want a decent, when you're mulliganing, and again, we'll do it how to play versus after we get into the deck building parts. So after you get your starting hand, you want to see how your curve is. So do you have a 2-drop? Do you have a 1-drop? Do you have a 3-drop? Depending on your deck style. This deck, as we always want to try to find a 2, 3, and hopefully a 4 or a character tutor. Again, we won't worry about the character tutors until the next video. So this usually in a deck, curve deck, you want to try to play 8 2-drops. 7 to 8 2-drops. Again, it's all up to the player's preference. Again, this deck kind of scales more towards a little slower. It's a little defensive minded to get into the late turns. My deck is kind of like a late game deck. So we play 8 2-drops so we can get that early turn pressure. And then we go ahead and play, in this deck, I play 6 3-drops, which will be changing to 7 3-drops, because I'm going to go to 7. So you can play 7 to 8 2-drops and 7 to 8 3-drops. So I'm going to swap this card, one of these cards, for one of these, so I can get more consistency on that. And it's all about consistency in the game. You want to be able to hit your character cards on the turns you want them. So on turn 4, so for turn 4, we have 6 4-drops. So again, we may change with some numbers. I may take a plot twist out or whatever. One of the ego gems may become another 4-drop. Because you usually want 7 4-drops. Set 3, 4, 5 is the mid game. And that's where the game, your strategy really starts to take hold, unless you're playing a swarm deck, which we're not worried about. So you usually want to hit your 3, 4, and 5s, because usually the game will not turn out in your favor if you don't hit those. So again, we play about 6 to 7 4-drops. And then some people, there are some schools of thought where you play just 4 5-drops. So this deck just plays 4 5-drops. You can play 5. You can play a full set of 1 and then 1 extra, like a tech card. I just play 3, 3 of 1, 1 of another. So we play 4 5-drops because I play 8 character tutors in the deck, and the deck draws enough cards to where I should be able to hit my 5-drop on turn 5. But if you don't have a lot of a lot of tutors in your deck, like more than 4 character tutors or ways to like draw a lot of cards, you usually kind of want to bump up your ratios, just because you want to be able to hit those cards. Now turn 6, we're starting to get into the end game here, Iron Man. I play 6 3-drops. Some decks do play 4, but you don't really need to. You can play 6 because you should be able to hit it within that amount of time. And then I play 2 7-drops. Normally curves end on turn 7 on the 7-drop, so you usually play 2 to 3. Again, it's another late game card, so you don't really need to play a full 4 of. You should be able to search for it or draw it in time. And then the deck caps out on turn 8. It does play 1 8-drop, because by the time it comes around turn 8, I should be able to have my 8-drop. There are a few things that... oh man, I just thought of something I totally forgot. But anywho, I guess we'll kind of end the video there, I guess. If you have any questions, feel free to leave some comments. We'll read them, answer your questions on other questions about the game. Again, this is all just about how to build your character curve with a curve deck. We'll touch Swarm later. I'll get Rob on to help me with the Swarm. He's a better Swarm deck builder. I was always just a curve player. So again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more content. Again, Versus Remix drops on 6/26 of this year. So awesome. And then we're going to try to get out a couple videos a week, or one video a week on Versus, just trying to get the community going, get some more content out there for the channel. Thanks again, and have a good night.